The last couple days, I've been thinking a lot about this very beloved and very famous Johnny Cash record where he goes and performs for a bunch of prisoners at San Quentin Prison. More specifically, I've been thinking about what it means, like what sense you can make of Johnny Cash's choice to perform for these prisoners at this notorious prison. And I think the kind of like mainstream, mainline interpretation, the dominant interpretation has been that this was an expression of Johnny Cash's humanity and his empathy. This was him deciding that he just liked everybody. But the thing for me is that empathy as a tool of political discourse is kind of played out. As we saw the other day, calling for empathy from people who don't find that particularly compelling is just not really a meaningful move. It doesn't really get much done. See, to me, I don't think the thing that's interesting about his performance is like, his magnanimous humanity or his kind of insistence on empathy. I think the thing that's interesting is that he brought into the public sphere in a really profound cultural way America's underclass. See, one of the sly ways that American ideology works, American propaganda and exceptionalism works, is that it tells a story of the American project that's fairly linear and fairly progressive. The founding characters of this American story are people that we're told were down in the mud, who nevertheless refused to look anywhere but the heavens, refused to look anywhere but with a sense of hope and optimism for the opportunities that were provided to them in this new world. And so long as they maintained faith in that American progress and that American dream, and they demonstrated that faith through the American sacrament of work, then they would find riches and success, and they would find a land of material growth and opportunity, and that would ultimately be what we now call freedom. But the thing is that is a story that the people who built America and benefited from it tell themselves about their experience of benefiting from America. And it's a story that keeps them motivated to keep participating in the system that they believe has gotten them where they're at. And most importantly for my little soapbox here is that story suggests that everybody benefited and that America got here by rising the tide that lifted all the boats. The thing is that the story of American infrastructure, our cultural, our material, our spiritual, our ideological infrastructure, you have to tell the story of the revolution. You have to tell the story of the Alamo. You have to tell the story of how the dams were built, how the railroads were built. You got to tell the story of how law and order was created and how it's maintained. You got to tell the story of how the land was procured and worked and how the food was grown. You got to tell the story of how the highways were put in and which communities they were put into. You've got to tell all those stories. The thing is that the cost of all of this American progress was paid by an American underclass, folks who were made expendable for the sake of building the railroads, folks that were made expendable for the sake of producing cotton, folks who were made expendable for the purpose of growing and selling cheap food, folks who were made expendable for the purposes of implementing and maintaining law and order, whatever the hell that is. And the only way to tell the American story is to make their expendability necessary and forgettable. So when Johnny Cash goes to quilt together his American masterpiece and he stitches in a significant part of America's underclass, a significant part of people who are built to be disenfranchised from the story of American success, he's telling you that if you want the quilt, you've got to take the whole of American fabric. While half of contemporary country music's out here gooning for the ways that we stand for the flag, it's awfully nice that somebody found a way to make art and to sing and to find a perspective and a voice that refused to tell lies about America and yet still helped you dance.